So now we come to another theme which is a very, very familiar one to you all, and we've already referenced it a couple of times, the problem of getting women into IT. And I'm delighted to welcome Anne-Marie Imafidon, who's head of the deliciously named Stemettes.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm really excited today to speak about the Digital Single Market Sievietes, which for those of you who haven't brushed up on your Latvian means Digital Single Market Ladies. And I think it's particularly apt that this is my title, as my microphone, has made me feel like a bit like I'm Beyonce today. So this is my version of Digital Single Market Ladies. I was very excited when I heard about the launch of the Digital Single Market on the 6th of May earlier this year. And because of the work that I do, there's a really big reason, and it's this lady. So does anybody recognize who this is? No? I think I heard it, Hedy Lamarr. So this is Hedy Lamarr, who, as you can see, is very beautiful, was a Hollywood actress. And I don't know how many of you know, but she's actually European, so she's one of us. But in addition to being an actress, was also the inventor, very great scientist, and the inventor of frequency hopping spread spectrum technology, which if any of you have ever used Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, which you probably are by virtue of being in this room, this is one of the people that you have to thank for having that technology. Now, I myself, I'll talk a little bit about myself, just because you're supposed to, I guess, on these things. This is a picture of me, baby picture, I always like to include. I have always been interested in technology. When I was very, very young, I decided, I had the opportunity to take 2 GCSEs, one in ICT and one in maths, at the age of 10. And these are exams that are normally done at the age of 16 in the UK. When I was 11, I did a computing A-level. And sadly, you might have noticed I'm not 11 anymore, but in the time since I passed that A-level, no other girl has done the same thing and passed the same feat. And so when I talk about digital single market ladies, for me this journey starts about 2.5 years ago, when I realized that, because my upbringing, from being that age and really being interested in technology, I was rather unique and perhaps a little bit strange. So as we've heard mentioned quite a lot today, there is a problem with what we'll call women in tech, and what I also refer to as women in STEM, women in science, technology, engineering, and maths. There's a couple of stats. In the EU, in every 1,000 women, only 29 hold a degree in ICT, as opposed to 95 men. And only 4 in 1,000 women will eventually work in the ICT sector. Now, this is a big problem because it's a growth area for us. We've got the digital single market, and we need people working in this. We need people supporting this digital single market, and we need people driving it. People, whether they're women or whether they're men or whether they're other. And so when I had my personal realization that I firstly was a woman in technology, but secondly realized these shrinking numbers because they're not always immediately obvious, and even being a woman in industry took me a while to realize that, maybe I am in a minority, and oh my goodness, maybe it's shrinking, I decided to found the Stemettes. So the Stemettes is a not-for-profit organisation which operates in the UK, Ireland, and now across the EU, that's encouraging girls, like these in the slide, to have a look and consider STEM careers. Now, we do this a number of ways. Here in the picture, you can see the girls on the left. They're actually developing an app at a hackathon that we hosted at Google for International Women's Day earlier this year. And this girl on the right has made an app at one of our school workshops. And our workshops and everything that we do is based on 3 principles: it being free, it being fun, and there being loads of food. And this has been our unique brand of how we encourage girls and how we speak to girls, and I do say girls, meaning 5 up to 21, how we encourage them to consider themselves Stemettes, put themselves in the shoe of Stemettes, to meet Stemettes, and also consider actually becoming Stemettes and even role models in their own right. And we've been doing this for 2 years with much success in the UK. Now, when I speak to the girls, and I must say that I don't actually enjoy speaking to the girls, this is a bit of advice for those of you who are looking to get in on this and make a change. It's not necessarily about talking and speaking to girls. For us, it's been a lot about giving them the confidence and empowering them to be creators within STEM. But on the odd occasion that I do speak to the girls, there are 5 key messages that I like to give to them, and I'd like to share them with you today in the hope that you might also pass on these 5 key messages. Now, the first reason, and my talk is entitled Becoming a Stemette and Why You Should Become a Stemette. My first reason that I give to the girls is exemplified by this slide. So Intuit is an American software company, some of you will have heard of. And amongst other things, one of the recent projects that they've worked on was with 500 farmers in rural areas in India. And they took in the SMS, they used the text. Now, normally when I say this to the girls, I ask them, how many of you have sent a text in the last day? I'm going to ask you, how many have sent a text in the last day or so? Quite a lot of you. The girls giggle and laugh at me because they don't actually send texts anymore. So this is a system that's been built by those guys that relies on SMS technology. So this is our text messaging system, and what it has done is it has allowed farmers to have an exchange and have a pricing system to know what each other are charging for different crops. So what they found after setting up this system that was based on the humble text was that farmers, the amount of money that they brought in increased, which was great. You know, farmers are doing better. But what they saw was a knock-on effect of the literacy of girls, of children, and particularly girls in those villages. So for whatever reason, I guess you can make up what it is, for having more disposable income or more income coming in, those farmers were then able to send their daughters and their children to school. And this is an example of the fact that technology does change lives and can change lives, which is something that drives a lot of girls, and we call this altruism. So looking at the fact that technology, not just for technology's sake, not just because it's cool, but because it does change lives. The second reason we give is money, which does drive some of them, but it doesn't drive everybody. And I must say as well, for obvious reasons, that parents are more driven by this for their girls than anyone else. So I talk about the pay gap and the fact that if we look at STEM roles or technology roles, at least in the first 2 years, there's no pay gap between women and men when they start off in their careers. But I also talk about the fact that any woman that's working within a STEM occupation can earn up to 30% more than those who don't work within STEM. And to make it real, I ask the girls who like shopping, and some of them put their hands up, and then I ask who likes food, and a lot of them put their hands up, and I say it means more food. The third example, the further reason why I tell them to come into STEM is the swag that you get at conferences. So arriving at the airport yesterday, I was greeted with a very lovely package, and even this morning we got some cool stuff, which I haven't opened yet. But the example I like to give the girls is, we've got here on the screen. So how many of you have heard of the Grace Hopper celebration of women in computing? None of you? Okay, one of you. I tell you what you will remember. Do any of you remember last year, about October time, the Microsoft CEO made some comments about women in negotiating? Anyone remember that? Is anyone here alive? Is this thing on? Cool. So this is the Grace Hopper celebration of women in computing. If you don't know what it is, look it up. GHC, it's massive. There were 8,000 female computer scientists there last year. This is what you get in your bag on the first day of attending Grace Hopper celebration of women in computing. So it's a 3-day conference for just turning up, you know, ticking off your name. This is the contents of your bag. Pretty impressive, yeah? Anyone? Yeah? Okay, let's have a look at day 3. And I want to point particular attention to those Google socks you can see in the middle of the bed there. I always say to the girls that, you know, you can't buy those anywhere, but if you come and speak to me afterwards. So there's free swag. And working within technology means that you do get a lot of free stuff. You do get to see things before others. Obviously, it's because the technology companies want you to develop for it or use it or help them promote it. But free stuff is always a goodie. The next example, I've only put 2 images up on this. Does anyone recognize where this is? Those of you that have been to the UK might. No? So this is the first floor at Bloomberg's London offices. And again, you'll notice a running theme here. This floor is full of food. So when you arrive to Bloomberg, they take a photo of you for your security badge. You go up the escalators. Oh, Oh, sorry. Yeah, you go up the escalators and you arrive at this floor of entirely food. And I tell the girls it's free food. I tell them it's there all day, every day, even on the weekends. And by then, they're mostly sold. I'll end with my fifth reason why you should go into technology, which is 9 selfies of myself. These are all photos of me at my desk at work. So I actually work within technology. I'm a technologist. And you can see I'm wearing something very different in each of them. You can pretty much wear what you want if you work within technology. So if you want, you can wear a dress with trainers, which is what I normally wear. Or you can wear a scarf and your coat all day long. Or you can have sunglasses on your head if you really feel like it. So those are my 5 reasons. I know I've run out of time. I want to close very quickly with an emphasis on one of the tenets of the digital single market as announced on the 6th of May, which was this notion of investing in businesses. So the final tenet, the final stream, of what we're running is a program this summer that has been EU-wide. We had 160 applications from teenage girls from countries as diverse as Spain, as Poland, as the Netherlands, and of course in the UK. And so we're going to have, for 6 weeks over the summer, we're going to have 45 young science and tech entrepreneurs and startups run by teenage girls living under one roof. We're going to give them access to mentoring, to funding, and to each other. And the reason why I wanted to mention this, and I'll close on this, is that as we talk about the digital single market, as we talk about businesses being able to communicate and work across these borders, it's very, very important that we remember not only the women, but also the girls on the way up who are driving that single market and who are working within it and who are creating the future. Thank you.
Great stuff. There was a lot about food there.
A lot about food, yeah.
A lot about food. But there's a real value, I think, in creating a fellowship of women, because one of the things that's very off-putting for women in STEM is that they go to a computer science class and they're the only woman there.
Absolutely.
Amongst 30 others. And unless you've got that fellowship and those friends, it's very difficult
to continue on.
Have we got some tweets about this, Tweetmeister?
Well, I think people got a little bit hungry because before we spoke about butter, now it was food at the hall. So, but just 40 seconds ago, one question appeared. Lucas Ilves is asking, do we need more STEM, STEM grads, or more designers, artists, journalists, etc., who know how to use tech?
We need both. I mean, it's not mutually exclusive having a STEM graduate who is a designer. I think we definitely need the people that have that core competency. We definitely need the graduates. We definitely need the people that have that experience, in addition to needing journalists and needing designers. But we have a real problem in the EU. We can't fight the numbers, right? We have a huge demand. We have a lot of people that we need to be going into these industries to be driving our GDPs and even just servicing what exists already. So it's very important that we do promote it, and also that we have a wider range of people pursuing these subjects and these career paths.
Yes, because let's not forget, actually, that the influence of women is very strong in the products that are designed through tech. I give to you the humble washing machine, ladies and gentlemen. Designed by men, 47 programs. How many programs do you use? 3. Right, enough of that. Let's have the lights up and have some questions from you. Can we have the lights up? Marvellous. Okay, so questions from you about getting women into science, and let's hear from some women. In the back there. And tell us who you are.
Gudrun Magnusdotter from Esteem. Actually, I started in IT in 1983.
Very good.
I think back then it was easier for women to join than it is today. And I'm an entrepreneur and a successful one. I've run my IT company for 20 years. I recently assigned it over to a man as a CEO because, frankly, I got a bit tired. But you know what? What you're doing is so recommendable and so wonderful. And it's so wrong, the path we are on towards that man alone sitting in front of a screen is the image of IT. Sorry, boring.
Agreed, yeah.
And what do you think programs like Big Bang Theory have done? How many people watch Big Bang Theory? Yeah, popular program.
I think in its own little tiny way, it might have helped, but I think there's also been an amount of damage that's happened. So I also watch it, and I think it's quite funny, but I think it's sad the way that the female characters are portrayed. So this is something that, again, I'm hoping to change with the Outbox Incubator this summer. We're actually filming a documentary that we're going to release that's going to follow the journeys of some of the girls and show that, you know, you don't have to just be like the Penny or be like any of the other girls. You know, you can be Leonard, or you can also be a little bit more normal and be a scientist. So I think there's something around the kind of characters that the media is used to portraying to us around, you know, female, around big Stemettes in the media. I know the Gina Davis Institute has got a bit of research out that says that, you know, when we look at STEM characters in these shows, for every 7 guys, there's only 1 woman. So I know there's definitely a disparity there between the two.
Is there an issue that we think of other careers as creative? So careers in humanities, but we don't actually think of careers in science and technology being creative, when in actual fact, they are extremely creative.
They are creative. They are as creative
and
as the
is
arts.
that a message that we need to get out there more?
Absolutely. Along with altruism, creativity and altruism are the 2 things that we push, and that's why it's interesting, you know, the talk about designers. It's about, you know, taking that design, taking that creativity and using the technology to build it or even to influence it or maybe even enable it. So it's a lot, but I mean, for us, the big challenge or the big goal has been to allow the girls to be creative with the technology.
Okay, so we've got 2 questions. We've got one there, sir.
Hi, my name is Dean Tinold. I'm not asking this on behalf of a company, but I'm asking this on behalf as a father of a 12-year-old daughter who loves technology and loves coding, and she actually has issues in trying to do something with it. This morning we had a session on e-skills. Only 3 countries in Europe in primary education pay attention to coding in education. So I've got a daughter who loves what you're doing, but who just doesn't have the possibility to get the kind of coaching and mentoring unless I arrange it for myself. And there are numerous initiatives like EU Code Week to do this, but how can we drive this even further to encourage these young girls?
I mean, try running a Raspberry Pi session. You're felled in the rush to get from people to come and do it.
Absolutely, yeah. So I think we definitely need more funding for initiatives like what I'm doing to make sure that it is available for girls, you know, hint, hint, to make sure that it is available for girls all over. I must say, though, that making coding available at primary school isn't necessarily the silver bullet or the solution to the problem.
But that's partly because teachers actually don't know how to teach it.
This is part of it. Teachers don't know how to teach it, so it's almost like asking a French teacher to now teach Latin. But also, you know, physics is taught in schools, and girls don't always take that on to a further level. So just having it in the curriculum doesn't necessarily make it accessible. But,
so it's more after-school clubs or something like that?
But it's enabling the girls to be able to pursue outside of school, which is what we do.
Okay, another question here.
Hi, my name is Marzena Memboski. Just a quick question. It's fantastic to hear all the work that you're doing, and it's very inspiring, I think, for girls and women. And I was wondering, from your perspective, what is the best advice you can give to EU policymakers to be able to enable the initiatives that you're doing and have this on a much bigger scale in Europe? Thanks.
Okay, they're sitting down there.
Hello. So I think the biggest thing that I'd say to EU policymakers, the first thing I always say when I have this opportunity is to get digital yourselves. I'm always astonished at some of the policies and some of the notes and things that I see from these meetings where people kind of don't quite understand what Twitter is or how it works, or are a bit scared of Snapchat because they're not quite sure where their photos go. So one thing I've said in the UK quite a lot is that all MPs should have to do a digital literacy test in order to help renew their term. But the other thing that I'd say is get out and go and meet these people and champion what they're doing. I think there's a lot of the time it's not actually well known, the initiatives that exist already, and in the positions that you have, it should definitely be something that you seek to speak about. But the final thing is funding. You know, I'm here today, I'm in Dublin tomorrow. There's a massive meeting that's going on with a lot of the UK organisations that are doing this to say how they can access more funding and make it, you know, really accessible. I think there's a bit of a running joke about EU funding that I won't go into.
So, are you volunteering to teach Juncker how to do Snapchat?
Yeah, why not?
There, you heard it here first. What a challenge, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.